Yeah.
you have signed in, but I don't know how you are not able to start the recording.
Yeah, it started recording, sir.
You are a host. Now you have started.
Professor,
It started recording, it's showing recording.
Yeah. Now it started.
Is it showing recording? Where?
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Where?
Left side
Yeah,
corner.
left corner we could see recording.
Oh, it's the somebody is recording already.
Sir, top left corner. Yes, sir. It started, sir.
Okay, somebody is recording. Yeah, that's perfectly good. No, I'm done. I had my breakfast. Okay, thank you. Oh, I hope that didn't get recorded. Yeah. Okay, good. So these are the 7 P's. So we're done with 7 P's, and 7 P's is not enough, because 7 P's is still looking at the world from the product line. And again, remember, the one big change that the world has gone through is, it's not how good my product is. It's how close am I to a customer need? How close am I to a customer price point? I want to price my product at, let's say, $100. But would somebody want to buy it at $100? That's the question. So the 7 P's became 7 C's. So obviously, in terms of conversation or in terms of exam, you will have something which will tell you that give me why the C's are important than the P's, or explain any one of the C's or any one of the P's. So peace be with you, and we are now done with this chapter. Now we will move to another new chapter. Let's see what is that chapter that I'm going to open up. Okay. Stop share. Screen share. Okay. Right. So can one of you reconfirm that the recording is on? Because I don't see the screen.
Yes, Professor.
Yes, it is
recording
on.
is on.
Yes, Professor.
And obviously you guys can see how I look today, right? Yeah, with a new haircut. That doesn't make much of a difference to any one of you, of course.
It's still dashing as ever, Professor.
Oh my God, who's that? Sanjeev, don't bother about assignment 2. I'll take care of it.
Thank you. I submitted that.
Okay, so now let's move to our next part. Market growth strategy. Over the last 6 hours that we've been discussing so far, I've been telling you why it's so very important for you to pay importance to marketing. Then I'm saying that what is the role of marketing? What does it do? What are the significant components of marketing? The idea that how well do you know your competitor? The idea is how well do you know your own strengths, your weakness, the market, and all that. All that is fine. All that is perfectly fine. But what are the vision, mission, all that nice, very friendly sounding words, but they mean nothing in real life. Every day in the morning, you don't come and we look at the vision and start your day thinking about what's the SWOT. No, every day there's only one thing that's going on in your mind. As a company, as an organization, as an individual who's responsible for a section or a feature or a division of an organization, is how do I grow? How does the market grow? How do I grow it? I am a company which is a 100 crore company. How do I make it 500 crore? I'm struggling with an 8% market share. I'll be delighted with a 14% market share. What is it that I should do? All the time, there's only one thing that is running in everybody's mind. So what does that mean? Is that grow your market, grow your revenue. It's not enough that, of course, my market would grow if I were to reduce the prices and then more people will come and buy my product. But that has a huge impact on my revenue, right? Obviously, it has a huge impact on my profits and profitability. So what am I always worried about? How do I grow the market? How do I how do I grow the size of the pie is a different statement. What does that mean? To grow the size of the pie is to say that grow the market for everybody. But that's not my concern. I am not a philanthropic guy to say that let's all work towards growing the telecom sector in India. Let's all work towards increasing more cars in the road. No, that's not my problem. My problem is how do I get more Maruti cars sold? How do I convert every Geo customer to be back to an Airtel customer, whatever that is. So it's all about market growth. And at the end of the day, what will please an investor? Oh, don't buy, for heaven's sakes, dump those shares of this company because they are just not giving dividends for the last 10 years. They've been horrible companies. If you have a stockbroker for you who works with you, he has every justification. I will tell him that, hey, no, we will not invest in this share. He says, sir, buy it. They have been paying consistently 20% dividend. So what does that mean? Is that dividend means that you invested your money in this company and I promise to give you healthy returns. So that's the primary organization's motive. Motive is how do I grow market? How do I grow profit? And obviously, all that is only possible if I have more employees. How do I get the best of the talent to work for me? How do I create an image, an opinion, a feel-good factor in the society that I am in? How does the society see me? Why is it that the society is more inclined towards everything that Tata does? And why is it that the society doesn't seem to? And it's perception, mind, and so quote unquote, it's an opinionated remark, is that why do the society doesn't seem to react similarly to an act of Sahara? Even though Sahara said that I am trying to elevate lots and lots from poverty through our chit fund schemes, why do I buy it with a pinch of salt? Is because the societal image of your organization is of equally great importance. So now over the next 1 hour, lots of stuff to do, lots of stuff to read. So the next 1 hour, we're going to see what is it that you should do. So now all that is good. Who controls growth? I want to grow. Who controls your growth? Who decides it? I believe that the man who controls the growth is the president of the organization. The president of the organization, whatever his name is, if I am the CEO of my company, I, Ramesh, dictate how my market expands. I, Ramesh, dictate how the revenue grows. I and my board dictate how we become more profitable. If that is an assumption that we are in, we are doomed to death. Who controls growth? Your growth is only controlled by your customer. Your customer defines how you grow. Your competition works as a roadblock for your growth. And the market obviously is determining which way you are going. So while growth is a lovely word and everybody, what is that word? There was a Billy Joel song which said, honesty is such a lovely word, but rarely ever heard. And mostly what I need from you. So similarly, growth is a lovely word, but it's so difficult to grow. It's so difficult to grow. You're going to grow at somebody's competition, at somebody's cost. Unless and until there's a huge market growing overnight, a demand for a product A becomes so vast that there is business for all. That's why they say that there is business for all in this market. The market is a growing market. So so back to the conversation of growth is that your customer decides how you grow. How does the customer connect with you? What does the customer think of you? The competition, what is the competition thinking about? What is it that the competition knows about you that they are able to beat you every single time? And how is the market behaving? These are called competitive strategies. And the more you understand competitive strategy, the more you are. The two books that I have presented here are one of the finest all-time books. The Art of War by Sun Tzu is something like a 100, 200, 300-year-old book of war, how war was done in the ancient times. Take the example of war and move from the battlefield to the market field. It's just about same. Sometime towards the end of the class, towards class number 6, we'll also define how war is done in the market. So how well do you know your customer? You cannot, how well do you know your competition? So the other more recent book is by Michael Porter. In class number 6, we will talk about Porter's 5 forces, which is another thought process of Porter, but here Porter is talking about competitive strategy. So this is, as the title says, is STP introduction. But what is STP? Let's come to think about it. So what is the strategy for growth? Is market, customers, competitor, regulator, invisible hand. What is all this happening? Why is all this thing coming up? So the invisible hand is a thought process of a person called Adam Smith. Now, Adam Smith is one of the pioneers in the economic thought process. Adam Smith says that the existence of any company, the existence of Apple in today's marketplace, or the death of Nokia, assuming that it's dead, or the death of Nokia, is all determined by, just give me a minute. Yes, I just worried about the power. Okay, is all determined by, who determines? By the customer, by the competition, possibly by the regulator, but all of that is more like an invisible hand. That means to say that the whole market is controlled by a set of acts which are not visible to the working field, in the sense that how he took an example of very 3 funny things. He took an example of, and Adam Smith was a very old, this thought of Adam Smith was even before there was electricity and power. So Adam Smith took an example of a butcher, of a baker, and of a candle maker. So what did Adam Smith say? That, dear Mr. Government, do not interfere in how the market reacts. Do not poke your nose on how the market is going to be controlled. Should I, like I said, should the government dictate everything that is happening? So Adam Smith said, don't allow. Allow the invisible hand to dictate how the market goes, which means to say that there is going to be somebody who is going to say, if the butcher doesn't sell good quality meat, obviously the customer will not buy. If the butcher sells high quality meat at an incredibly high price, they still will not buy. So you must allow the market to determine which way the business goes. And most importantly, the market also determines what is the demand factor for it, which means to say the market will know for itself that if there is daylight saving, maybe there is less candle that are need to be used. Maybe people eat less bread on a Wednesday, or on a day of upvas, or whatever it is. So we will allow that invisible hand to drive the market for strategy. So I hope you've been able to get an idea of what it is. This is a warming up slide to a slide on how do you get to manage the market. The only way to manage the market is to come up with what is called specialization, is to come up with what is called the differentiation, is to come up with what is called the segmentation, is to come up with what is called concentration, or even more normally used word, targeting, and of course, positioning. So the subject of today's conversation is segmentation, concentration, also known as targeting, and positioning. That means to say that how do you get to find out which is the most ideal market for you to work for? Point number one. And why would somebody want to come to you and not to somebody else? So let's look at what is the meaning of specialization. Specialization is something that you offer which makes you different. Something that you offer which makes you different. Which means to say, the most common example that I got, these are, by the way, these are a totally new set of slides that I haven't presented to any of the classes till now. And I make it a practice to make sure that you have new and fresh slides coming up. It makes conversation easy. And should you have access to some of my old slides, they also act as additional data for your reading. So what is specialization? This is something that I provide, some uniqueness that I provide that somebody doesn't offer. For example, a standardized worldwide example could be McDonald's. What does McDonald's offer you? Fast, clean, value for money food. Right. McDonald's says that within a few minutes, you will have the meal ready. And reasonably, the place is clean and nice, makes you feel comfortable, and obviously it is value for money. Take that example. Why do these Udupi restaurants in any part of India, they are called Udupi and they have all kinds of names. They're called Darshanis in Bangalore or whatever they could be called, but you know the category that I'm referring to. Well, why do people rush there? Why do people go there who might even have a dinner at a five-star, might still go to a place for like this for breakfast? Would be for the same reason, is that the food is fast, the food is clean, and there is real value for the money. Now, what products do you think they would be adding to their menu list? Obviously, for any product to qualify, for any product to reach up to here would have to be something which they can deliver fast, which they can truly give a differentiation in terms of the value for money, and which doesn't mess up the whole place around. So the better that you specialize, the more your specialization, the easier it is for the customer to come looking for you. That happens all the time. Till very recently, there have been dry cleaners of all kind. There have been dry cleaners of all kind, and there is one. I don't know if you guys have seen this shop, but unfortunately, he closed it during the pandemic, and obviously expected so. That was a dry cleaner for shoes. I don't know if you guys have seen that. There's a dry cleaner for shoes, which say you have sport shoes, you have your running shoes, you have your walking shoes, and they become dirty. So we specialize in doing that for you. So these are specializations, so that you clearly say what I offer you is truly very, very different. Just like, I don't know how many of you watch this the video presentation of Steve Jobs. He says, I'm offering you something different. I'm offering you something. There's a sense of speciality that comes in. Make sense? Any questions so far? It's been very quiet out there. All good?
Yes, Professor.
All
sir.
good.
Yes,
All
sir.
good. All good. All good. All good. Now comes the differentiation. Why do you want to come and take my service? What is it that I offer you which is different? Unless and until the difference that you state is visible, is demonstrated, is shown to the people who are your customer, you wouldn't be able to get into that market. the differentiation is so very, 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 very important. The moment the customer understands the differentiation, he will stick to you and he will really have made your market improve. The normal word, the whole world will say, sir, how come your company is different from other companies? Sir, our company is different because we provide quality service. We provide quality service. We provide quality service. And if anybody is saying that, he's being an idiot. In the sense that, does that mean that everybody else in the world out there, every competitor out there is not providing quality and not providing what he thinks is value for the product? Obviously he is. Otherwise he wouldn't be where you are. I mean, he wouldn't be where he is, and he wouldn't be competing with you. So the idea is not to look at differentiation from a very, very, very broad perspective, but to start looking at differentiation from a narrowed down perspective, which truly, truly, truly makes you the differentiator. Now, the more, for example, I'm assuming some statements here. For example, there are dime a dozen all kinds of people who are giving you an executive MBA program. But why do you come to us? Why do we come to us? Point number one is we do it every Saturday, Sunday. Obviously, every Saturday, Sunday means that every other Saturday, Sunday, you have time for yourself and your family. And we, as the college or the professor or the department or the university says, we bring up some of the finest faculty who understand what it is. So that is a differentiation. So you know what it is. They've been the uniqueness of the presentation series that's been going on. It talks about the best speakers from the industries and who is who matter into this world. I don't know how many of you tuned in to listen to Mr. Mysore. I think that was a very, very nice conversation that flew. So these are the differentiation factors that are going on. The more clearer is your understanding of the differentiation, here is what it is. I was trying to give you an example of differentiation, and I just realized that I happened to be meeting a good friend of mine, and he was telling me that during the pandemic, he's been up to writing storybooks or writing books rather. Now here's this book that he's written, and I'm being his promoter. I'm now being the guy advertising for his book. I suggest all of you guys buy the book called The Whispering Tree of Bengaluru, which is a very, very nice depiction of the thoughts and the view of how Bangalore has changed, how in particular Malleshwaram in Bangalore has changed, and how the whole world is perceived through the eyes of a huge tree which was located there and now gone. So now I got into a more animated discussion with him to understand, because everybody wants to write a book. Everybody wants to, even I have dreams of writing a book. So I was asking him, hey, how did you get to write it? What is the process of writing it? Should you have to commit to X number of copies? That was when he came up with saying that Amazon Publishing Services. Amazon Publishing Services is absolutely unique in its own way. You don't even have to commit to 10 books. Amazon has a process of evaluation, and once they find the book reasonably good, interesting, captivating, and would get a buyer, they say we print on demand. We print book on demand. That means if Manjunath wants to order a book, they order a book, they print the book, and they ship it to him. Point number one. If somebody in another part of the world wants to buy the book, Amazon has their web servers or cloud services. So at the nearest Amazon printing facility, they print it. Very, very unique, very, very unique. So that becomes the differentiator. Now, you no longer are I'm sure you must have read about so many people going to a publisher, the publisher not very happy with it, and the publisher wanting to demand a larger percentage of the royalty. All that is historical. Now, when this is so, imagine what world of good is Amazon doing to the profile of the guys who want to write books and stories and novels and all that stuff. So that's a differentiator. The more you get the differentiator in, there's going to be a line of people who is going to be buying for it. So that part comes to the differentiation part. Now comes what is called I just made it funny here by saying, because instead of typing USP, I typed up USB, and then I thought, let me make that.
Professor,
Yes.
could you just explain concentration? What is it? Because I can understand segmentation and the positioning, but how concentration is helping and what is it?
If you could concentrate on the slides, and when we get to concentration, we will get there.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so I believe that's the way it goes, right? Yeah, we go one at a time, or you could mute yourself, go to sleep, and wake up when I come to concentration. Whichever way is convenient to you. Fine.
All right. No, I was thinking specialization and differentiation. You just started, so I thought all the 5 points will be taking us through there.
Perfect. So we'll get there. No hurry. You will travel along with me. Okay, no problem. So the other point that we were trying to discuss was, what is USP? What is the unique selling proposition that you are going to give to your customer? What is that uniqueness in your product? What is that uniqueness in your service? What makes you so very different? Why is it that people go to why is it that people prefer one kind of a real estate agent? Why is it that people want to go to a certain shop? Why is it that the people want to buy clothes at a particular place? The unique service proposition could also be that we have a 100 car parking facility available. That's unique. So you can at least park yourself. Now, unique. So you have unique, which is it's a word by itself. There is no uniqueness. There is nothing like more unique. There is nothing like less unique. Unique is just one particular point, which is. Now look at this presentation of Steve Jobs. He offered something that no other mobile operator, mobile manufacturer had to give. He walks in and gives you a product which is totally unique and completely addressing on what the customer is looking for. And once that product comes, it impacts the whole sector. And we were listening to that slide or that presentation saying that we have impacted the industry. Obviously, the entire industry went through a sea change. The change was very, very slow as new products and phone. See, the mobile phone got to be an extension of the pager. But that's not how Steve Jobs perceived it, because it's a gradual transition for a device for you. I mean, it was a one-way communication. You wanted to make it a two-way communication. You had buttons and all that stuff. You had a keyboard for numbers, and then you obviously came up with a QWERTY keyboard for other communication. But Steve Jobs started looking at it very, very differently. So this is what is the unique selling proposition that you give. The more unique the proposition, the more it impacts the industry as such. The second point is, or the third point that we have is segmentation. What is segmentation? Segmentation is that I have a huge market. I have a huge market. Okay, everybody is going to be, wants to fuel his car, his motorbike, his two-wheeler, his buses and all that. Everybody goes there. But in a crowded, market sensitive sector, right? Obviously, you're going to be very upset, and you are indeed upset that the price of fuel has been going up, and the price of fuel is now 94, 93, 92, whatever that is. You are worried. But in a segment as complex as this, there is somebody called Shell who is sitting out there. Now, if you've ever been to a Shell petrol pump, you would notice that they charge you more. They charge you more. It is almost 4 rupees per liter compared to the fuel in elsewhere that you have the charge that Shell asks you. But are they going empty? There are people who are lining up to go there. There are people who appreciate the speciality that you give. There are that amount of customers who believe that there is something that Shell offers. But ask me, what is that? Would I go and fuel my car in Shell? Maybe I won't, because for me, I do not understand. I do not appreciate the speciality of the service that he provides. So you will define segmentation as that customer who appreciates the fact that the mobile does not have a keyboard, and that's a huge beneficial. I was not among the first to jump into a keyless mobile phone. I stuck onto my BlackBerry much. I don't know what was the first variants. There were the ice cream and what were the other variants. I hung on to my BlackBerry till I lost my BlackBerry, and I had to switch over. So I possibly belong to those customers who believe that the keyboard is essential. And so I was not appreciative of a product which said that we have keyless mobile phones available. So there is that customer who appreciates the speciality that you provide. These are those happy customers who will come back to you again and again and again. So the segmentation that you attempt for, the market that you attempt for is very, very, very important. I just put up this Krishna Chetty and Sons as a case of conversation for us to have, just to tell you as to how Krishna Chetty also segments its customers. Is that a few, or rather very many years back, I went and bought a few items at the shop, including a ring or a diamond ring, or which for myself. And a couple of weeks later, I noticed that the diamond had fallen off. Now, when I noticed this, that was when I was having and I used to, for some very strange reason, I used to, maybe because of size, I used to wear it on the right hand. So I noticed it while I was having dinner or lunch with somebody. And you know what? We have this thing in our mind saying that the diamond gets into your body, it's going to cut you off, it's going to make you die, it's going to cut through your intestine and all that. So while I was having this food, I noticed it, and whoever, my business colleague, would call me every 1 hour to ask me, are you alive and are you all fine? And eventually, that's not the story. Eventually, I went back to Krishna Chetty and told them that, look, that diamond fell down. So this guy was being very nice to me, and he said, "Sir, we will replace it." And obviously, he replaced it at no additional cost. Now that's delight. Obviously, that's absolute delight. Now I told him that his name was Ganesh Haigriva or something, something like that. And so I told him, Ganesh, you have won me for life. I'm going to be your customer for life. So he said, brilliant, sir. Thank you. How many children do you have? So I said, I have one son. Oh, you are now going to be a regular customer. So I said, why do you say so? So he said, our regular customers are those who have daughters in their home. So they are the ones who will come and keep buying more and more and more often. So you see, the point was that he knew his segmentation very clearly. While he may have delighted me, and while I did assure him that I'm going to come back again and again, he knew where his actual returning customer is going to be located. So segmentation is a very, very important part of the conversation. Now, before we get outside of segmentation, we should also remember that once you know your segment, once you know who is it that you should go for, once you know which is that particular customer who's going to give you the business, your market becomes so clear. The market will come running behind you as such. Now, if you look at IBM is almost 100-year-old company, right? IBM is almost 100-year-old company. IBM has a very uniqueness in the fact that they know their customers so goddamn. Anybody from IBM here? Anybody will be with IBM? Anybody an IBM product here? Okay, no, never mind. Good. So IBM all along in the 70s and 80s had an 80% market share. Had an 80%. Now, of course, their market share has fallen down. Now they may not be their customers may not be under such grip that IBM at that time had. And IBM with 80% market share was actually worrying the American government. What happens is when you have an 80% market share, they are always worried that there may be undue advantage that the manufacturer or the supplier could have, and he might be in a very monopolistic market, and nobody wants to have a monopolistic market. What happens in a monopolistic market is that you don't allow competition to come in, and you also ensure that the customer has nowhere else to go. I mean, you have to live with him. So in the 70s and 80s, mostly during the Reagan period, there were over hundreds of lawsuits that was against IBM, and they were trying hard to break IBM into more than one entity. Maybe the mainframe as one, the PC as the other, or the midframe as the one. They were trying to break that. And that's the way that you break monopoly. And historically, AT&T, as it's now known as, it was earlier known as Bell, Bell standing for Abraham Bell. So these were the BSNLs of the US. So the one big BSNL was so big. Now imagine before the mobile industry came in, there was only one operator. There was only one telco provider, and he behaved bad, he behaved good. You didn't have much of a control. He did have, at that time, the erstwhile DOT, or what it was called, had 100% market share. And obviously, when you have 100% market share, the least that you would care is for the customers. So in such a background, when the American telecom industry was primarily dominated by Bell, now known as AT&T, the government decided to break them up. They became baby bells. You might want to read about them. So when a monopoly industry starts misbehaving, or when one player becomes a monopolistic player in a market, primarily in America, they try to get rid of this monopoly. So same thing happened with IBM. They tried to break it down. But when they tried to break it down, they were trying to find a reason to break it down. IBM is misbehaving. IBM is overquoting. IBM is overcharging the customer. IBM is not providing the best service. On the contrary, the entire customer response was that they were loving IBM. The customers loved them. Why did the customers love them? Is because IBM perfectly understood who their customer was, who their user was, who their deciding authority was. If you look at the 60s, that was the era when you were going from analog to digital, and that was the time of IBM mainframes, that the deciding authority was the president of the company. So they would go talk to one individual, one president, and the decision would happen. But in the 70s, there were mid-frame and other mid-range products that came up, and the decision came lower down. So it became the IT managers, it was the network managers, it was the purchase managers who would make the decision. And the IBM guys knew everything about them. The IBM guys knew everything about them. They knew what this purchase manager was, where was he educated, how big was his family size, and he knew exactly what the pain point of that company or that individual was. So the moment they knew what was the problem or the pain point of the customer, and they addressed the pain point, there was a happy cut. So the end of the story was that IBM was not broken down and the lawsuit just fell through. That is only possible when you know what is the segment that I'm going to be attending and how do I get into there. The same thing happened with Microsoft. In the 2000, Microsoft was virtually everywhere. Microsoft was responsible for the death of Netscape. Is that Netscape or something else? Yeah. Or even,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Yes, sir, it
Yeah.
was
So Microsoft, though Microsoft was not as clean as the IBM that we perceived, Microsoft was virtually everywhere. If you wanted to ship your IBM compatible PC with a Microsoft OS, Microsoft would insist that you must also have a Microsoft browser. So now when it becomes an OEM product, you kill your competition at that very stage. Then how is it possible? So while Microsoft did almost end up in a situation where Microsoft also was to be broken up into an OS company versus a browser company, it somehow survived and couldn't really get through there. It's also because maybe Microsoft was truly delivering excellent product. So the point that we're getting into in an intro to the sector was that segmentation is very, very important. Now, what kinds of segmentations are we talking about? Excuse me for the coffee. The segmentation that we are talking about is demographic segment. What is demographic segmentation? We'll get into it in a later part of our conversation. Demographic sector is who is my customer? What is the profile of the customer? For example, I believe that we, as with Dayanand Sagar University Executive MBA program, have a reasonably good understanding of the demographic of the profile of each of you. We know that you may be anywhere between 2 to 12 or 2 to 15 years of experience. You may have worked at 1 or 2 companies. Your typical age is anywhere between 23 and plus something. So we are not going to rush and talk to somebody who is in his teens and who has just completed his graduation. We would rather look at somebody who's working somewhere. So the demography is very important. What is even more important than demography, I'll get to those slides later on, is the psychographic of it. What is the psyche that is going on inside the mind of the person? We talked about needs. We had secret needs. We had what is called undisclosed needs or unstated needs. So the segmentation consists of understanding their goals, what are their ambitions, are we able to fulfill that? And we have to find one major reason for his problem and how do you solve his problem. So that's on segmentation. Next is the concentration. I guess you have just landed up here. So the question that you were talking about. What is concentration? There's just one slide which should tell you what is concentration. In the first Iran-Iraq war, and I mean, not the Iran-Iraq war, in the first Gulf War, even the first Gulf War is wrong. The first Gulf War was a post-9/11 war. The post-9/11 war, America went and just bombed Afghanistan and Iraq and all that stuff. What did they do? They said, I don't know where my enemy is hiding. I don't know where my enemy is hiding. I know that that's my enemy. That's it. I know my enemy is in that lat-long matrix on the world, and I know where it is. So what do? They do a carpet bombing. They do carpet bombing. They virtually went and bombed the entire country. In the process, they hit quite a few successfully. They lost quite a few. While that is provided you have big pockets, deep pockets, you have all kinds of resources, you do a carpet bombing for 2% efficiency, for 1% efficiency. You put up series of ads and all kinds of things, and then you get 100 customers. But I do not know, this may be a year or a year and a half or 2-year-old story about how one particular cluster of drones went and targeted the Saudi oil fields and bombed them. That is targeted bombing. They probably did not even bomb the housing quarters. They probably did precision bombing to get rid of or to destroy the oil fields. Now, concentrated or targeted marketing is to focus exactly on who that person is. But that focus is only possible provided you know what is the specialization that you do, you know who appreciates your specialization, and then you have, through that huge web of possible customers, you segment out the right customer, and then you send him out that message. Like I always remember that the thing that happens in parties or thing is the act of reading your palm. So everybody says, and especially there's certain sect of people, or women, or boys, or girls, whoever, they are always worried. So you say, yeah, I'm a good palm reader. Obviously, somebody wants to show you his or her palm. You can say, oh, I think you have a problem with your husband, or I know you are looking for a change in job, or you have some issues. So it's only people with issues would want to show your hand. So similarly, your targeted and concentrated marketing has to be right out there. Then what do I have? I have one more slide. Finally, positioning. What does the customer think of you? I'm trying to put this slide. I believe that this picture means 1,000 words or 1,000,000 words. This guy, I know him a circuit, but I don't know his real name.
Arshad Warsi.
Arshad Warsi. Arshad Warsi or Arshad Warsi is forever a circuit. Forever in my mind, and I'm sure with all of you, is a circuit. He did try his hands on as a hero in a couple of movies. But even in that movie, in our mental mind frame, we always saw a circuit. We refused to see an Arshad Warsi in it. And I'm sure you guys agree with that. So the positioning, once there is a positioning, it's very, very clear that what is the positioning that is there in the mind of the viewer, in the mind of the customer, in the mind of the buyer. Now, the moment you look at this boy, the glasses, the pen, the way a very formal shirt, the way the oiled hair, you are telling me, sir, he is me when I was a child. It's the studious person. But that's the positioning. But what do you know about him? It could be somebody else who's the most mischievous guy who got into all kinds of trouble. So positioning is as important as the rest of the stuff. Now, that's the intro part. What is the time now? Exactly 1 hour to the intro. Not bad on the clock. Now, let me get down to the real stuff. Any questions so far? Any questions? I forgot your name. One who raised your point on concentration and targeting. Am I clear with you?
Yes, sir. This is Satyajit.
Yeah, Satyajit, I'll tell you what happens. Your face appears, but it's only when you speak that the name appears. So thanks, Satyajit. I'll try remembering your name. I hope I've been able to communicate what you had in mind. Perfect. Good.
Yep.
Now let's look at another slide. Look at another slide. Give me a minute as it opens up. New share. Why did it not share? Resume share. Okay, can you see the slide? Obviously you can, right? Click to add title. Okay, same thing. Now I get into a little more of detailing on that subject. I do not know if the case studies that I gave you in assignment 1, it also had a section of STP, right? Some of you were asked to do a segmentation, targeting, and positioning of some of the products. I would have theoretically wanted you guys to attempt for that assignment after this class, but perfectly fine if you've already submitted. I know I was also a little bit occupied to be able to shift the deadlines for the thing. So on that subject, have all of you submitted your assignments? Is there somebody who's not?
Yes, sir. It's already submitted.
All of you have submitted. Okay. Now let's look at this. Now, who can give me the answer? Who is this product for? Can you give me the targeted user, the segment? Who is this for?
New bride and grooms.
New bride and grooms or
Potential bride and grooms.
Parents who are searching for.
okay, so now we are somebody is saying, or Rakesh is saying, parents who are searching for a boy or parents who are searching for a girl.
Unmarried and divorced people.
Unmarried and
Divorced people.
divorced. Okay. What else?
The ones who wants to get married.
The one who wants to get married. Okay. What else?
Targeting Canadians.
Oh, so you are saying Kannada matrimony is for those who speak Kannada. Okay, fair enough. Now, what about elite matrimony? How many of you have targeted going to these websites?
Well, Kannada matrimony for sure. Elite, I have not visited.
So what do you think is elite or elite, or it depends on which
How you
school?
pronounce it.
Yeah. So what does it mean? Elite matrimony.
The name indicates it's for the elite class, but then when I got married, this site was not there.
Okay. But you are elite anyway, right? Yeah. So now tell me, what is elite matrimony is for whom?
Possibly the rich class.
Possibly the rich class, and what else? Well, for them,
Celebrities.
the rich class, and should they speak Kannada?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Maybe any language it can be, or any any region it can be.
So for you, Yadunandan, for you, the segmentation of elite is, I don't care what language you're speaking. Do you have the minimum bank balance of so many, whatever it is, for you to qualify into elite matrimony? Correct?
Exactly,
Right.
sir.
Exactly. Now, for Kannada matrimony, do they have to be poor or rich?
Can be any.
Can be any. So now you're looking at the segmentation. Is that there are certain products for a certain market, and there are certain products for a certain market on elite and Kannada matrimony. Now let's look at this. Who is this product not for?
The ones who are already married.
The ones who are already okay. So the ones who are already married will not visit this website. Okay. What else? It's not.
The ones who are never married.
Who?
Ones who are never married.
Ones who are never married, or who haven't married once, or something. Correct. So what else is? Who is this product not for?
The people who do not belong to either Kannadiga or elite classes.
Meaning what? So if you are not elite and if you do not speak Kannada, you have to visit diversematrimony.com. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe some other sites, but not these two.
But I still want to get some more answers on who
But
is
not for children or not for old age.
This is an adult of class. Okay, who is this for, not for? You almost got it. I got almost every answer, but I just want some more of you to give me the answer.
Who are not divorced.
The ones who are already experienced in marriage and they will not visit
The ones who are happy with marriage, don't come here, right? Okay, good. I think that if it
one who already
the one. So you're very clear. So the point that I was trying to say is your segmentation should know who is your target market, but your segmentation should also know who is not your target market. Why should you want to go ahead and have a conversation with you see, I'll tell you a very unique example, an extremely unique example of how these people know who this product is not for. Many a time my wife ends up walking into a cosmetic shop or one of those places, and beyond a point, I just walk in and still wondering why she's not bought this product. When I walk into that store, nobody is even going to talk to me or ask me, sir, what do you want? But at the same time, if I were to walk into another product, and maybe another kind of a very diversified product, maybe utensils or grocery, and I walk into a showroom looking for my wife, they're going to come down and say, sir, is there anything that you want? It's because in that cosmetic shop, they very clearly know that I do not belong here. So they will not spend their time trying to even tell me that what is it that you want. So while segmentation is about understanding who the product is, segmentation is also important about who the product is not for. Now let's look at all of them in one particular slide. Segmentation, targeting, and positioning. Now, let me get all of you to start thinking about it. What is the segmentation for, can you guys see the slide well? What is the segmentation for this Mia silver product? What is the segmentation? Who is it that you are addressing?
Jewelry segment, sir.
You are addressing those who are interested in jewelry segment. Most likely you are focusing your advertising or you're making the segmentation to those women who want to buy those jewelry, women who are possibly, if you look at her photo and look at her age, she's possibly in her 30s and no beyond 30s. Somebody.
There is some disturbance in the voice.
Yeah, I don't know who's that. Is it mine?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, it's from your end.
My end?
Yes, sir.
No, no longer.
I think it's better now. Looks like somebody else was also on
Yeah,
mute.
okay. Oh my God. Now? Oh, if somebody is echoing. Who's this?
Yes.
I think I know. Archana Kirti. Archana Kirti, can you mute? Hello? Hello? Yeah, good. So there you go. Segmentation is about, what is the time? Do you guys want a break? I will give you a break a bit later. Segmentation is about knowing who exactly your customer is. Who's the customer here? In this case, the customer is a woman who is probably in her 30s, employed or whatever. You come up with a long list of people, and then that is what it is. Then Raymond. Raymond, who is it? The only primary category that you are going to worry about is that this is for men. That's it. Maybe all kinds of men, working man, business entrepreneur, maybe you might prefer to have those with a slightly better income, but that's taking your luck a bit towards, but I'm sure primarily this is for men who are working, employed, or who like good clothing. So this is what it is. Now, what is the difference between somebody wanting to take a bounce and somebody wanting to take a Uber? What are the parameters that you would want to consider? Those wanting to take Uber may be those who do not know how to ride, or those who are a little bit conscious about the weather outside, or may have greater affordability, but no longer in your conversation are you saying that it's a man or a woman. That segmentation does not arrive in this positioning of the product. It could be a woman driving the two-wheeler if she knows how to drive. It could still be a woman sitting in an Uber. It's all about lots of other conveniences that bring into the market. So that is segmentation. And then finally, I want you to understand positioning. And remember, positioning is in the customer's mind. Now, why don't you and I spend some time trying to understand, this is supposed to be the Java Perak, which is the newest product from, supposed to be the product from Java motorbikes, and they cost about 2 lakhs. on the road, whereas we all know what is the TVS Star City. So now we are not talking about segmentation. We are not even targeting about, we're not even mentioning about targeting. We are thinking about the consumer's perception of the product. Now, if I tell you that I have a TVS Star City as my motorbike, what comes into your mind?
Affordability.
Yeah, so I bought a TVS Star City because I am a little conscious about the money that is going to be spent. What else?
Mileage.
I'm worried about what is my recurring cost. Okay, what else? How old am I?
Usability.
Yeah, how old do you think I am if I am having a TVS Star City?
Basically, it depends on customers' mode of thinking and customers' interest in what kind of a product that he needs.
Exactly. What kind of a product that is he thinking it is? Do you, but does it serve that primary purpose of going from position point A to point B? Obviously, it serves the purpose of going from point A to point B, but so does the Java Perak. But the key difference is what is in your mind. Now, let's say I tell you that I am a Java Perak owner. Now tell me what do you think who I am?
Biker.
Yeah, you're a passionate bike.
I'm a passionate guy. I might be very young.
You love traveling.
So in general, what people think is he is a person who got very good money and he earns more. That's what people think.
Absolutely, because that is what I want you to think of me, right? The moment I tell you, hey, listen, I have a Java Perak. Acha, okay, so you paid, how much did you pay for? Oh, I paid 2 lakhs. Oh, so I want people to know. So the perception is that that I'm a passionate guy, I have money to afford. That is the positioning. But does it reflect in the product? It doesn't reflect in the product. It only reflects in the mind game, in the position that happens. 10:45, I'm going to see if there's another slide. Then I will decide what to do next. Okay. Now let's do this exercise with all of you. I would need a little more participation out here. Now, these are the companies that I have considered. These are the companies that I've considered. State Bank of India versus American Express, SpiceJet versus Emirates, an Oracle course versus executive MBA course, Netflix user versus Z5 user, an Amazon user versus a Flipkart user. So now, how much of these parameters, what are these parameters? How old is my customer? What is the gender of my customer? What is the marital status of my customer? What is the status of employment? What is the approximate CTC? What is the likely mobile phone that he is using? And the location of the customer. Now, if you look at, let's say, State Bank of India, do you think I can categorize my customer by age? Very unlikely, because my customer could be, it doesn't matter, my customer could be of any age. Is gender important for me to classify my customer? Gender also is not very important in this case. Marital status is also not very important. Maybe status of employment may come in. Now, switch the story from State Bank of India to American Express. American Express, you can assume that the American Express bank account holder is definitely 25 years and above. Is some kind of an assumption that we are saying. And what is his status of employment? Yes, he is very well employed. He has an approximately good CTC. He must be on the higher bracket on the salaries scheme, and the mobile phone is most likely to have is possibly an iPhone, but that's we are not reacting so fast because we are now in an executive class mode. But that's the kind of. But what you will also know that the likely location of this person, the account holder of State Bank of India, could be in any part of India, but the account holder of an American Express or an American bank or whatever that is likely to be among the top metro cities of India. Similarly, you do a classification for each of these and come up to know who exactly should your focus of conversation be. That said, what is the next thing? We have more slides on segmentation. Is why do we buy? I'll run through this process for you to read. Before I get there, let me go back to get out of this mode. Oh, shoot. Okay. So any questions so far? Are you guys clear about STP? Because that's an important part of the conversation. There are more slides coming up here on what is STP and what it is, mostly for you to read. Anybody having any questions that you may want to raise? Good enough? Okay,
Yes,
good.
sir.
Yeah, fine. So what we'll do is, it's almost 10:55. That's about 1.5 hours of class, and I'm sweating here. We'll take something on the message. Something on the message. I didn't submit. Okay. Can't do much about it. Yeah. We'll take a how many minutes break? About a 10-minute break. We'll take a 10-minute break and then come back to the class. Fair enough?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and at 10 or 11 o'clock, 11:10, I'll see you again. I don't know how to stop. let me just go through these other slides. I'm not going to be talking about them. There's enough that I have talked about STP from an understanding point of view. I'll just make sure that I run through these slides because they are there on the video when you watch it. But obviously they are available for you in the LMS. So many ways in which you can slice segmentation. You can slice them by location, or you can slice them by other factors. I'm not going to go too much into this, except that I want you guys, you start learning more about this as you go into future classes. As long as you understand what is segmentation, what is the positioning, I guess you know how to handle the rest of the products. Read these slides. I'll share these slides later on. Okay, so am I ahead of time? What time did I say? 11:10 or something. File open. Okay, I'm back and we start the class. One of the hallmarks of any where is it, man? Okay, one of the hallmarks of any conversation in an executive MBA program is the fact that you need to understand what is all this case studies all about. Okay, case studies are, as we would discuss here, I took this odd name, to drink or not to drink, just to bring in a certain amount of excitement into a conversation. It's actually the beverages word. We'll discuss more about it as we go. But why do we read case studies? What is it that you benefit out of reading a case study? What does a case study contain? What is the use of this? There are all kinds of definitions for business case study, but it's primarily for us to understand at a given situation, at a given condition, at a given market, at a given time in history, this is how the market reacted, this is how the business was considered, and this is what was the outcome. Many a time, copying a case study, or just because it worked well in a particular sector, in a particular industry, doesn't necessarily mean in a different time, in a different period of thing, it was going to work the same years later. Just because China chose to be the factory of the world in the early 1980s and hence became an economic superpower, it doesn't mean that we take those learnings and say that if we did whatever China did, we ourselves would also become the factories of the world. It doesn't work like that. These are reasonable amount of understanding to tell you that what went right, what went wrong, but that is all that much and nothing more. So a business case study, however, is largely different from a business plan. A business plan is a direction that you intend to give to the organization, and you assume that this is the market, this is the way the industry will go, and should we go like this, this is what the growing market would be, and this is how the world would be very different. So a business plan is normally a futuristic outlook of what your business is going to be and how you take your business forward. It talks about the type of business, it talks about the market, it talks about how the business is organized, it talks about how do you see the source of money, how do you see the spend of money, and how do you see the whole business evolving. But the business case study, on the contrary, tells you that what happened, what data was considered, what went wrong, what went right, and why is it that we should learn from this business. There's nothing more than that. We will not go too deep into it. I'm not also going to go too deep into this slide because this would also take a longer conversation, but I'll leave it. At the point I was trying is all along my personal career, for the job I do and for the profile that my company holds, we attempted different plans and processes. Some worked, failed, some worked, some failed. And when something failed, a similar opportunity, 10 years later, we still were scared to go there. But it's all about timing. But anyway, we'll not get too deep into it. Sometimes business case study also tells you that there's too much of data. There's too much of data. So sometimes the data is too much, sometimes the data is too little. For example, on 5G, would 5G be very successful? Would 5G go forward to become one of the finest communication networks? We don't know. There's too little data available. But there's too much of data available on whether I should start a new call center or should I start a new competition to Ola, to Uber. So sometimes if you want to start a new business, you must too much of data, and hence you can make a decision. There's too little data, and hence you have to make some assumptions. That's enough. So now let's get into the case study in hand. And who doesn't know this case study, right? Every one of us know this case study, either by experience or the very fact that this is there all over the world. As you can see, there are various ways in which you can paint the world map. One way to paint the world map would be by deforestation. One day would be to paint it by population. Another way would be to paint it by how democratic the countries are. But the best way to paint the map is to say which countries have a preference for which particular brand of sugared water. Look at this. There is Pepsi, there is Coke. I don't know. It talks about even American love for Pepsi. I do not know what is this, but we don't pay much attention to the statistics or the legality or the truth behind the contents of the map. But it's just a map that what we do. So the battle is very, very old. 1886 is when Coke was invented, or if you want to use the word invented, or if it was a product of culinary expertise, that was when the original recipe came into being. 12 years later, Pepsi Cola came into being. And from that very day, they have been fighting each other tooth and nail for a market share. Sometimes Pepsi does better, sometimes Coke does better, but it's a long, never-ending battle. At one time, they said that the battle between Iran and Iraq, which was long back, would go on and on and on, and there would nothing get along. Which then reminds me of a particular story, is that one of the longest battles, possibly not the longest battle, but definitely the most iconic battles that were ever fought was the Battle of Mahabharata, which was the battle between the Kauravas and the Pandavas, wherein, like Bush made a statement, you are either with us or you are our enemy. At that time, the whole Bharat, what is called, the whole the subcontinent of Bharat had to divide itself in its loyalty between whether you were with the Kauravas or you were with the Pandavas. But then there came one very unique character. There came a very unique character called Babarika. Does anybody know this character called Babarika?
It's Barbaric or Babarika, sir? Barbaric.
Yeah, maybe it's Barbarica.
Son of Ghatotkach and Karimba.
Yes, yes. That guy had a unique proposition. Absolutely, Satyajit. Perfect. I got the spelling wrong. That guy had a unique proposition. He was told by his mother that you will fight for the losing side. You will fight for the weaker person in the battlefield. So now he approaches, or he is encountered as always by Krishna, and Krishna asks him, what is it that you want to do? So he says, which side are you going to fight for? He says, the side which is losing. Now look at this very strange paradox of things, is that when the Kauravas and Pandavas are fighting, assuming that the Pandavas are losing, he will switch over to the Pandavas and fight for them. And then, because he is himself a Rakshasa and a man of extreme potence and power, when he switches over to the Pandavas, the Kauravas start losing, and then he switches side. So eventually the battle goes on forever and everybody gets killed. So obviously Krishna ensures that he doesn't fight the battle. Anyway, that was a side remark to a conversation, but the sugar war has been going on for time immemorial. Now let's look at what the sugar market consists of. The sugar market consists of possibly a consumer segment. We've been talking about segmentation all the time for the last 1.5 hours. And so I thought it makes sense. This also is a brand new case study, which means that I haven't done this case study to anybody in the class so far. I just finalized this yesterday. So look at the consumer segment. There are 3 primary consumer segments. There's one which is for the refreshing. I mean, it's pretty hot out here. Trust me, it's almost 36, 34, 35 degrees. I might want a refreshing Coke. So obviously, that's one segment that you want to attack. The hot weather, the sale of Coke is much higher. Then there's also this social event. Now we gather up, we sit over, and then let's say, let me order a Coke for you. So that's the other segment wherein the Coke, meaning both Coke and Coca-Cola and what you call Pepsi, also gets along. The other segment is the non-alcoholic consumers. What does the non-alcoholic consumers mean? Means those who are sitting out there for an evening while the rest of their friends may be consuming alcoholic beverages. They belong to that category of people who are not having it, and hence that is the third segment that the consumer is located in. Very perfectly segmented market. while this is a market, no segment is stable. The segment is always undergoing change. The segment is always undergoing perceptions. And again, familiarity over a period of time, we just want something different. We just want something a little more different to be done up. So here, what is the market perception over the last so many years? The market perception of these two products are that the Coke and the Pepsis are too sugary. Any amount of attempt to move them away from such a thought process has actually reacted in more damage than good. And of course, there are two major components of, just give me 1 minute, I'll just join up. The two major components of the product are soda and water, and sugar. And soda water is also not good for health. The one way to overcome this would be to change market perceptions or to change the product itself. So by changing the product, you come up with Coke Zero or Pepsi something. But it didn't really work that good. Coke Zero hasn't really caught the imagination of the crowd, because while it may say that it doesn't contain sugar, it has got artificial sweeteners, which obviously have their own amount of mischief that they do to your body. So there is a disgruntled segment within the large segment that you defined. Moving closer to India, in the market, in India, despite all that is happening, there is more water being sold by these two companies than sugar water, which means to say, Coke is selling more Aquafina, if that's the correct one, and Pepsi is selling more Kinley than they should be selling their own sugar water solution. So another challenge that these two companies face is that their own product line could be eating among their most revenue generating product. And even among the two products, which is water from these two companies, Bisleri is almost like is so common, is like Xerox. It's more like a word rather than a brand name. That's the third problem that they are facing. For a long time, Coke faced a competition within itself by Thumbs Up, which the market was not willing to give up. While they were trying very many ways to kill Thumbs Up, it still now exists in some form or the other. Now, while that is the segment, while that is what you have understood as the three markets of refreshing, socializing, and non-alcoholic drinkers, there's something else that is happening all over. Is that people want change, people want something different. And there is this huge, the consumers would best understand this problem, is that there is this huge hangover effect after a Friday evening or a Saturday evening party. And the best way to get over that would be that caffeine is the best source of energy drink, but caffeine is so boring. Caffeine is a passe. It doesn't really make sense. So there is a need for something nicer, and hence you need something that gives you wings. And possibly know that's wings with a double I. Where am I trying to head our conversation? So over a period of time, people have got tired of tea and coffee and soft drinks, and they now want something even more zippy and zappy, and which gives you these energy boosting chemicals, that they want Red Bull. Now, Red Bull was actually launched out of a conversation between, is there somewhere there? Maybe it's there. Conversation between an Australian pharmacist and some herbal expert in Thailand, and he realized that the people in Thailand had a better way of handling their hangover with this intoxicating or this energy generating drink, that he joined hands to come up with a product called the Red Bull. Now, Red Bull became one of the biggest software drink in the software industry, that it virtually ran for 15 years without a competition. Why is it so? Because while Pepsi and Coke were fighting each other for a market share within each other, Red Bull created an uncontested market. Red Bull created what is called an energy drink. Now, you were talking about a refreshing drink, you're talking about a sugar water and things like that. But then Red Bull came up and created what is called an energy drink in a market that was totally uncontested for 15 years. And 15 years, trust me, is a huge period in history when it comes to markets. For 15 years, Red Bull ran a totally uninterrupted. There were few challengers once in a while, but those challengers either didn't have the energy to run as fast as Red Bull ran, or they died an early death. So for almost till Pepsi and Coke launched Mountain Dew and Full Throttle, Red Bull created a market on its own. So what is it that we learned from so far? What is it that we learned from so far? Is that Red Bull created a new segmentation. This was a segmentation which was not going behind the refreshing drink. This was not the segmentation which were taking these, having a social event drink, but this was a segment which is called the hangover, the alternate to caffeine, the new energy segment. And so what is it? That if you are smart, it is possible for you to create a market segment that doesn't exist. So while that is part A of the story, let's look at part B of the story. In the meanwhile, in the other half of the world, moderation became the new norm. What does that mean? It's that young people were more conscious about how much they drank, the spirited, the alcoholic drinks. They were worried that I shouldn't be drinking more. Drinking is bad for health. Moderation became the new norm. They were more worried about how fitter am I. So the consumption of alcohol started dropping. Now, look at this problem. While the consumption of alcohol was dropping, that doesn't mean that they were not partying. So there was these set of guys who would not want to have the fizzy beer, nor did they want to have the sugary water. And now there was a large untapped market segment which was growing and left unattended. I hope you're getting and following along my conversation. Is that there came an uncontested, an unaddressed market of those who didn't have the right drink for them, while they didn't want the sugary water, while they did not want the alcoholic drink. And on top of it, the general consumption of alcohol came down. Now, that was a cause of major concern for Heineken and Budweiser, that they had to innovate something which could revive the market. Now, what is it that they came up with? Is that they found out that a lot of people were not drinking for very many reasons. I am driving, I have to do something else, or I'm going to be going to work. I need to manage my calorie. I am on medication, or whatever the things, people were not sticking on to the idea of having an alcoholic drink. So Heineken came up with what is called Heineken 0.0. What is Heineken 0.0? Heineken 0.0 is a non-alcoholic beverage. It's a non-alcoholic beverage. It gives you the look and feel of a fizzy beer, but it primarily contains water and nothing else. And it generally fits into a perfect market segment that you've been desperately trying to go with unattended. So there you are at Heineken 0.0. It is designed for those who are health conscious, who are calorie conscious, who are scared of the sugar content, and who are those who believe that moderation is the consumption. A huge market share that they created. What did that result in? It resulted in an unaddressed market of those sitting in between the Cokes and the alcoholic drinks, that they were able to expand not only their market share, but also reach out to a segment which was being unaddressed. Now, what is Heineken 0.0's introduction meaning to the market segment of Coke? That's perfectly addressed here. Now, Heineken 0.0 can be sold next to a Coke, can be bought at a fuel pump, because it's a non-alcoholic drink. And you've seen lots of these ads about them. So now, not only is Heineken having a greater visibility that it can sit shoulder to shoulder with the Pepsis and the Cokes of the world to match up to it, they create a larger and wider user audience. So that is what came up with it. So here is what the greater conversation of this product came up with. Wider distribution. They could advertise all over the place. They could run TV ads, which was otherwise prohibited. They could put up, they could sponsor events which were otherwise barred from alcoholic products from being there. So now they are virtually getting into exactly where Coke and Pepsi were having a superior and comfort zone. So what that means that no segment is taken for granted. Every segment can be attacked and addressed. The last slide on this is an Indian slide. Now, it's called Heineken 0.0, but it's called, from Kingfisher, it's called a Radler. Why is it that Heineken 0.0, the very word 0.0, enhances the brand in mature markets? In mature markets, using the brand Heineken to promote a non-alcoholic brand enhances it. But at the same time, if you were to do a Kingfisher 0.0, it may diminish the brand's value, because you are now saying that it's become a sissy product. It's now being branded as something which is a softened up market. Now, Kingfisher will actually lose a market perception, because it's all of the positioning of the mind, that if they were to go ahead with Kingfisher 0.0, so what they are doing now is they're calling it Radler, with that logo being even more higher font than the Kingfisher font, because they don't know how the undeveloped market, which is still an attractive market for the alcoholic drinks would react to a product like Kingfisher 0.0. That's because even it needed James Bond to have guts to cry in public. And if you saw the last movie of James Bond, it showed the softer image of James Bond. And there was a lot of discussion before the movie got released and after the movie got released was whether James Bond is allowed to cry. Does he have the license to cry? Well, he may have the license to kill. So this is one presentation that I wanted to share with you all on the art of segmentation and how do you get to use it in real world. Any questions? No questions, I guess. Perfect. Let's then move into another very important. These are three things that I want to get off with for today's class. Yeah. Okay. Now, where is my resume share? New share. Just give me 1 minute. There are too many slides hanging around here. Let me get rid of it. Yeah, okay. No, not this, not this. Sharing of screen has stopped. Share windows closed. One more minute and then we'll probably get it right. Too many slides which I won't save. Open resend. This one. Okay. Screen share. Yes. Okay. Oh, right. That's a slide I want to do. So now we've been all along talking about 4 Ps and segmentation, targeting, positioning, and all that. And we're still stuck in, most of my conversation is still stuck in a B2C environment. We're still not moved into what is probably a very, very large and more useful to us, which is the B2B market, where business to business conversation happens. And that's where the money is. But before we transition from B2C to B2B, we need to look at how do companies perceive the future. How do companies see how the world is evolving? What is it that best describes my growth strategy? I asked you in your assignment 2 exactly that question. If some of you have had a look at assignment 2, my question to you is, which was at one point of time, is that should TVS or TI cycles always remain a cycle company, or should they move into other lines of business, or should they be the first to come up with electric cycles? Or should, why does a company so famous, so rich in terms of a customer base of having the largest user base of typewriters like Godrej die? Did it not perceive a future where typewriters would be replaced by maybe, if you want to talk about as an input device, computers, or as an input device by printers? Why isn't that Godrej failed to perceive which way the market is heading? We see that happening all the time. We see that happening every single time, as to some companies who have been leaders just die, call it laziness, call it whatever it is. They just refuse to perceive the market. Now, what is the vaccine for such things? What is it that a company should do? What is it that, one thing, of course, is the SWOT. One thing, of course, is the SWOT. The SWOT is a real-time analysis of where I am, what am I good at, what am I bad at, what is my threats, opportunity. You've learned it, I've memorized it. But beyond that, what is it that we should do? Are you the astrologers in business? Do you have the ability in you to perceive how the business is going to be 5 or 10 years later? Do you have it in you to say that 10 years from now, not even 10 years, I throw a challenge at you. How long do you think WhatsApp will last? Do you think we will have WhatsApp in 2025?
Difficult to answer, Professor. Why? Because market is fast changing. Because the Telegram or the Co app has come already.
So now, if you are the marketing guy at WhatsApp, or if you are the guy at WhatsApp who has to make the decision, what is it that's running in your mind?
Something more innovative.
Pardon?
Offer something more innovative to offer customers so that they remain.
Professor, for instance,
where do we have that intellect? Do we have to, for example, we all know which way is Reliance wanting to head. Reliance no longer wants to be known as a fossil fuel company. Reliance knows exactly which way we want to go. So the past is an indication of the future. I don't know what that meant and why I put it here. The future, of course, is based on my understanding. And astrologers can go wrong in business. Obviously, you know that. The astrologer who told you that don't worry, the drought will be over if you do a big puja. The drought didn't go, but he died. So that is what happens in the thing. And there is, of course, the pandemic. Whatever brilliant amount of planning that you can do, how could you have predicted the act of God? So businesses die, products die, companies die too, but not true. A company could be 100 years old and thriving and bubbling. A company could, born today, live 100 years if it knows how to manage, how to use the right tools and methods. So over the next 1 hour or whatever is left of today, we will go on a journey trying to look at how do I make my business proof or foolproof, future proof, whatever the word is. What is it that I should do? For example, Gillette has a policy. If you know what Gillette does, Gillette came up with a 2-blade razor, came up with a 3-blade razor, came up with whatever. Gillette has a very simple philosophy. Whatever the competition does, whatever he perceives as competition does, Gillette will do it. So they just do it. They have the reach, they have the money. So a new guy comes up with a product, Gillette will just do it 10 times larger and kill them and continue to be a existing market field. So there are many ways people do businesses. So your role as managers, your role as business head in your own organization is to visualize, is to anticipate, is to predict, is to prepare for change. And I've told this so many times, is that the CEO of a company, the chief architect of an organization is not worried about business today. Business today is the headache of somebody down. If you spend too much of time thinking about business today, your business will die tomorrow. So there has to be an equal distribution of human resources, thought processes, manpower to ensure that Section A is running to today's business. Section B is running to ensure that my business stays tomorrow as well. And so what do? Even people become incompetent, right? And that's probably the reason why some of you have come to join here, is that unless and until I reskill myself, unless and until I become smarter, unless and until I add a few more degrees or a few more avatars to my business life, I become deadwood. So I must also run the battle along. Just because I'm no longer an expert on the subject, but just because I've done Oracle 7.0 or whatever that is no guarantee that I will have a job till retirement, right? Two things could happen. Technology can come and kill me, or there could be a smarter guy who could come and kill me, and both of which I do not control. So with this competition, what is it that we should look at? Which way do you think the world is going? The world is going diesel, petrol, or electric vehicle? Very easy to say. Very easy to say, because you are watching that trend going on. Do you think theaters will exist 10 years from now? Do you think theaters will be historically dead? And it will all be streaming of it, or would theaters itself be the new platforms for OTTs? We don't know. Maybe Amazon and Netflix may become the largest theater owners in the world. Don't know. Don't know how the world is going. Today, do you want a holiday in a crowded place or a quieter place? The answer is possibly there. So, and I came up with this concept, and I thought it was a good idea, is that you are selling 2 BHK, 3 BHK houses, but do you think that's important, or do you should sell an OBHK? O standing for that you also have a small office space for you. So you work out of your home complex, but 100 meters later, instead of what is called the general play area or the playroom, there's also a general office area. So you're only 3 minutes away from your home, but you have the privacy of an office. So that may be the new kind of buildings that may come up. So am I going to be attached to a phone number, or am I going to be attached to different things? Now, how important is a phone number? I'm holding on to my phone number because my Aadhaar and all that. Will it be relevant? I mean, I don't want to go on the screen trying to tell you guys know how to do it, and you have a better visualization perspective than mine. So how do you see the world? How do you see the world? The question is, how do I keep my company ahead in the market, ahead of competition, ahead of technology, ahead of incumbency? Imagine the challenge for an existing government to survive. You look at it, the 3 governments which are going in for elections, they are facing competition from somebody who's going to promise the moon. He promises you the moon, but your challenge is that you promised the moon for the last 5 years. What did you deliver? So incumbency could be a big challenge for you. Scary it looks. Look at these companies. Which logo do you not know? Tell me. You call this A 1, 2, 3, 4, and ABC. So I guess we all know 1A is IBM, which is this logo.
Seems like Xbox.
Xerox.
Xerox is a better answer. What is this logo?
MySQL.
My?
SQL.
No.
MySpace.
Absolutely. MySpace. What is MySpace?
Social networking site.
What did MySpace get replaced with?
Facebook.
Absolutely. What MySpace did, and I was probably one of the first guys who went and thought that MySpace or Second Avatar or whatever it was called was the thing. But why did they die despite having a huge competitive advantage? They were the first guys to hang on with. Which is this company?
Nokia.
It's Nokia.
Tell me which of you, I know some of you may have never seen a Nokia phone. You must have born in another time zone. But for all of us, we grew up with our Nokia phones. We grew up with Casio calculators. The first electronic product that I ever laid my hands on was the FX76 calculator in my engineering college. And what a joy it was. But now they are dead and gone. Why did they die? What went wrong with that organization? This is something that we'll see. Why is it that Wipro today still has a smile on its face? Why is it that Netflix still, after so much of changes in the industry, still survives like IBM? Why is it that Yahoo, despite being a market leader, is dead almost? Or if it's alive, I don't use any of their products. So what happens? Do you have that in you? What is that 4 things that you should look at as an organization? How do I penetrate the market? How do I get into the market? I have 12% market share as which company? As MG, Morris Garage. I have 12% market share. Should I be happy with it? How do I increase that to 14, 18, 22? What is the new products that I must introduce for my existing customers? What is it that my customer, I'm a chartered accountant, or I have an accounting firm. I've so far been addressing so many of my clients who look at me for their annual year-end closing and for filing their tax returns. Should I sit back and relax? There is clearmytax.com, or even forget that. Filing a tax return is so simple now. Saral, I think, was the first income tax version, which said that earlier I was scared to go to my chartered accountant because the whole process of filing an income tax was scary. So do I sit back as a chartered accountant, assume that my customers will come to me forever? Or what is it that I should tell them? As a chartered accountant, should I also introduce them to new ways of new products that they should buy, or new way of managing their taxes so that they pay less? So what is that new excitement that I can give for my existing customer? Like, what is it that McDonald's would want to add to its menu so that that customer is going to be excited about what I deliver? Then you have product development. I want new products for the same market. I want new solutions for the same market. By just delivering mobile connectivity is not enough. I should provide internet. I should also provide OTT as a platform for my existing customers. So finally, maybe this market is dead. I don't want to go, and I should go into new markets. I go into totally new markets. So there are 4 things that happens. I do a market penetration, I can do a market development, I do a product development, I do a diversification. As somebody, let's say MTR Foods, I should open up new markets. I should go to Northern India. I should go to some other part of the world. That's opening up new products. As MTR, I should also bring Italian instant food for my customers so that my existing customer is addressed. Now, diversification is to say that MTR will go into utensils and cookware, totally new products. These are the 4 things that can happen into a market. So that whole thing which was lying here is made into a segment like this. Diversification, current market, new products, current market, current products, continue to work on that, new markets with the same product. Same thing. You understand this matrix better than I do. So if you have gone this far, then I welcome you to a company called Boston Consulting Group, BCG. BCG came up with a matrix and said that if you use this matrix very well, I promise you nirvana. No, they didn't tell you anything like that. But they said that if you use this, you can prepare yourself for a longer life of your company and know where I should put my money and where is the growth of it. So Boston Consulting came up with what is called a new term called relative market share and market growth. What is relative market share? What is relative market share? I'll explain to you relative market share. I'm trying to get an example. Over the last 1 year, or 1.5 years, it may be slightly changing now, but we'll assume so, that over the last 2 years, because of so much of confusion about petrol versus fuel or diesel, and the fact that we don't know, for some reason, the auto sector is not growing very fast. The auto sector is growing at only about 1%. Okay, let's assume that. Let's make an assumption that the auto sector is growing at 1%. But IMG have over the last 1 year grown 10%. What does that mean? That while the market has grown only 1%, which means to say that most of my competitors have grown at 1%, I have grown at 10%, which means that despite a bad market, I have done well. That's the relative market share of yours. The higher your market share, the higher the portion of the market that you control. Relative market share. Market growth, on the contrary, means that last year the auto sector grew at 2%. This year the auto sector grew at 5%. But as in, which company do I hate on the auto sector? I can't think of anything. Okay. I as in Fiat, the market grew at 5%, but I only grew at 3%. So despite a growing market, I have done bad. So these are the 2 parameters I want you to realize. Relative market share and market growth. So any questions on this, or am I moving too fast? Silence can mean anything.
We're going good, sir.
We're good?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. So if you've understood these things, I'd like to introduce you to 4 new terminologies. The 4 new terminologies are stars, question mark, cash cows, and dogs. What the hell is all this about? Is what your question is. Let's try to decipher it. Obviously, the easiest thing for you to understand, and be careful of one thing, okay? The star may not be here. The star may be where the question mark is, depending on what the matrix says. It could be low on one side and high on the other side. Remember, the way to remember star is not the position, but star is high, high. That's what I was trying to tell you. So what is star? Star is that product which is growing fast in a market which is growing fast. Do you mean to say, do you understand? Now, the best example is the OTT market. I guess you all know what is the OTT market. The OTT market is growing very, very fast. People are virtually switching over from, that's the language that I know because I come from that industry, is they're moving away from linear television to non-linear television, meaning that watch when you want kind of serials and content. That's growing very, very large, huge. Lots and lots of new OTT movies, OTT serials, exclusively for OTT are growing. So the market for that kind of sector, OTT, is growing fast. In that market, most of the people are downloading or subscribing to Netflix. Now, Netflix is a star because the market is growing superb and the product, your market share is also growing very, very super. Another example of that I tell you, probably easier way to understand. The market for electric scooters is growing, no doubt about it, right? Everybody wants electric scooter, electric scooter, electric scooter. So the market for electric scooter is growing at 20%, but the market share of Ather, right? The market share for Ather is 50%. Super, nothing to worry about. The next 5 years, this market will grow. Unless and until I do something very stupid, I will continue to be a star in this product line. So that is called stars. Now, the other way to look at it is to look at cash cows. Cash cow is still under the high market category, But is the market growing? The market is not growing. The market is not growing. What is the definition? The market is not growing fast, but in that market, I am the leader. By default, Tata Namak. Let's say most people go to buy Tata Namak. Now, Tata Namak is probably 70% of the Namak which is sold. But is the consumption of salt growing exorbitantly, like possibly the consumption of millets or health foods? No. So in a market which is not growing, if you continue to be a leader, you are making good money, but there is nothing exciting happening in that sector. You become a cash cow. So that is the definition of a cash cow. Now, most milk sold in Bangalore is Nandini milk. But is the consumption of milk rising super fast? Are people, instead of consuming 300 ml, consuming 2 liters of milk? No. But in that market, it is a relatively large market share. You've got that star and you got the cash cow. The third is a dog. What does the dog mean? The dog means that the market growth is very, very low. And your market share is also very, very low. What a tragic situation to be in. The market is not growing, and your product is also not growing. So where would you want to be stuck up with? The example for that would be I'll try to think of an example. I hope you guys will be able to sync with me on the example. When you had this, you had Microsoft come up with their own MP3 player. It's called the Zook or something like that. They came up with their own MP3 player. Assuming that there is one such MP3 player, not many people are buying those MP3 players or music pods. And your market share is also very, very low. So why would anybody want to be buying it? So that is what. So now the question is, we've discussed stars, we discussed cash cows, we discussed dogs, and finally we are now coming up to question mark. Now, if you have followed me very well on these 3 points, and I want you guys, it's my job to explain to you 100 times these 4, because they have to get into your mind. And this is something that for the rest of your life, you should be able to put anything, even if it's your 4 services, even if it's your own 4 product lines, even if it's your 4 features of your own skill set. You may be the best programmer in the world, but do we need programmers? Then you're stuck somewhere here or here. So that's the question mark. That's not, I shouldn't use the word question mark, because that itself is the new part. Let's say question mark is the market is growing very high, but your relative share in the market is very low. Now, the example of that is the market for sanitizers is growing very high, but nobody is buying Patanjali sanitizers. So what is happening now? That's probably a wrong example, but I'll try coming up with that's a wrong example. That's a
Nokia.
No. Let me think of a product. You do not know which way the product is going. You've introduced a new product. It's a product. You have a lot of doubt about that product. That product, the question mark is, just because the market is growing very, very fast. I think I got the product. Tata Click. How many of you know what is Tata Click? One of you saying yes is good enough.
The e-commerce
Yes,
website just like Flipkart.
It's a website.
Yeah, the
Like
Tata Click.
Flipkart
Similar
and
to
Amazon, sir.
Yeah, is the Amazon and the
Flipkart.
Amazon Flipkart. Absolutely. Yeah, that's the best example. The market is growing very high, right? I mean, lots and lots of people, you're able to convince your grandmothers and grandparents to move to Amazon and order food and everything from Amazon or whatever that is, the kind of delivery platform. So Tata also gets into that platform because I don't want to miss the race. But what's happening to me? My market share is low. I'm still struggling. I, as Tata Click, has only got a 7% market share. It's got a 7% market share. What should I be doing? Should I hold on to the product or should I kill the product? Let's say, for God forbid, let's say there's a huge scam that turns out to be, or a huge disaster, or a huge PR mismanagement by Amazon or Flipkart. They do something horribly wrong. And that results in one of them falling. And the very fact that I was the third runner or the fourth runner, I obviously then continue to then become a star overnight because I say I'm the true Indian e-commerce company, and all of a sudden the government says if you're a true Indian e-commerce company with zero investment from outside, we'll give you 20% discounts. So this question mark moves away from question mark, then goes to star. So I've tried to explain this to you guys. I hope you guys have got it. And these are slides for you to read. Now, if we were to take, let's take any company for that matter and see. I haven't given you any of these things. Okay. Now, Reliance not as in the younger brother, but Reliance as the older brother. Now tell me, what is Reliance cash cow?
So the petchem business.
Which one?
The petrochemicals.
Absolutely. It's the petrochemical business, which was probably giving them the nothing exciting happening in that market. The market is more or less may have benefited by the Suez Canal incident, but that apart, nothing great happening in that market. What's the star?
Jio and Reliance Mart.
Jio and Reliance Smart is the star. Obviously, what's the question mark?
Agio.
No,
Agio is the question mark.
Yeah, go ahead.
Agio. There is
Okay,
something
good.
called Agio is a question mark, sir.
Agio, you don't know what is going to happen, but you really want to stay there. Correct.
Agio and Reliance Jewelers, Reliance Trends.
And what could be dog?
Dog.
Anil Ambani.
Why do you want to call him a dog?
I mean, he's a liability to him. So.
No, but he's unrelated to Reliance. We don't discuss. The dog could be the dog.
Reliance Defense. Reliance Defense could be a dog because even they entered defense area. Maybe. Or if you also know that Reliance runs Vimal showroom or something like that, Reliance. Yeah, but you get the point. I think if you get 3 right, you've also got the 4th as an idea right. So this is what is for you to remember. Any questions that you guys have on this? Needless to say, your assignment 2 is based on this. Your assignment 2 is completely based on this particular slide. Sir, can I get an example for the cash cows one more time?
Get an example for?
Cash cows.
Example for cash cow is plenty. Example for cash cow is somebody. Alto is a cash cow for Maruti. They don't do anything much. They're sitting out there and making lots of money out there. I can tell you that is most. Let me come out with a housing finance company will obviously be having housing finance as a cash cow. But over a period of time, that's the regular income. Nothing really is going. HDFC, for HDFC, the cash cow is their housing finance division. The question marks are their portfolio management. The dogs is their credit card, which they're doing very badly. The star could be their bank. Cash cow. Let me explain to you here what is cash cow.
Where is cash cow? Cash cow is not even mentioned here. Cash cow. They are the foundations of the company. They often are the stars of the company. They have unlimited finance available from that company all the time. Unlimited finance available month on month. You know, we have one advisor for our company, and the advisor used to always say that every you know, you must understand it in the context that he's saying. We must all have a pan bida company. If we have a pan bida company, then we can do some entrepreneurship. What does that mean? Is that I must have something which will guarantee me constant source of income. A constant source of income is guaranteed. Now, then I will risk out into the other markets. Now, if I'm a real estate owner, my cash cow would be those 5 houses that I've rented out. Nothing doing, everything going well, month on month, regularly, they will start giving me rent. So I don't have to worry too much about it. The rent is not too exciting for me. It only gives me 30% of my income, but 30% of income is required. There is little work that I have to do. I don't have to do any work. I just have to keep it going fine. Every company has a cash cow. Every company. Cash cow for Tata is Tata Steel. It's constantly generating new business. As a matter of fact, cash cow for Tata is not Tata Steel. It's TCS. TCS is constantly generating business after business after business. But are they happy with it? No. They cannot depend on cash cows because eventually cash cows will become dogs. So what is dog? Let's say I started a new product and I told that I will give you 5 years service free. Now the product didn't take off. Nobody is buying my product. But those 3 or 4 people who brought the product, unfortunately, because they are those 3 or 4 people, I have to service them for 5 years. So it becomes a dog, it becomes a liability. Right? So if you guys have got this right, I'll move to a slight variation of this. So you must always remember that stars can move. See, there are examples that you will read, examples that you will practice. But, okay, this is for you to read. I'm not going to do too much of selling on this. Now, we are not happy with BCG matrix. Why should we always use BCG matrix for our reference? Is there an alternate thought process? Is SWOT the only answer? No, we have PESTEL, we have BRIGO, we have all kinds of things. So BCG matrix ek taraf, GE 9-cell matrix. So what is GE 9-cell matrix consists of? This is what GE 9-cell matrix consists of. The business unit's strength, same thing. It's just the same thing, but in a totally different language. The strength of your company, the strength of the market. So is the market low? Is the market dying? The market for, if you do a GE 9-cell matrix for Reliance, is the market for fuel increasing? I assume so, that it's not, it's low. But is my position in that market high? Yes. Hold on to the company. Don't give up that company. Hold on to it. Is the market growing fast? The market of, let's say, what is that? Hospitality industry, or the market for movie theaters. Is the market for movie theaters growing? No, nobody wants to go to movie theaters. Are you a big player in the market? No, I am a very small player. Get out of that market. Get out of the market. Is the market growing very high? Are you a big player in that market? Yes. Is the market growing high, but you are a small player in the market? Yes, the market is growing so high, everybody wants to buy or everybody wants to watch Netflix, OTT, and I'm MX player. I'm assuming that MX is a not so bad. Should I sell off? No, 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 don't sell. Hold that market. Maybe somebody is going to be interested. So the three options are grow the market, hold on to the market, or harvest means get out of the market. So these are two things that I wanted you to remember. And there are some companies which may have I think a Geo is there for some products. You guys are rightly there. This is what I planned up for today, and rightly so, I'm on time. Any questions that you may have, you may shoot. So in your assignment 2, you can do a BCG analysis. What am I telling you in your assignment 2? In your assignment 2, I'm telling you, choose a company. Let's say you choose a company like Tata, assuming so. And you position the company in 2021. What is here, what is there, what is there, what is going on there, what is this? And in 10 years from now, 2030, what will this chart look like? Will this be still there, or will this be gone, or will something totally new come and drive the market? You don't know. So I want you to use your imagination as an astrologer and an advisor to
Is
the company.
group assignment or individual assignment?
Oh, what was that? Okay, so this is what it is. Any more questions?
Sir,
Assignment 2 will be a group assignment or an individual assignment?
Yeah, that'll be a group assignment. Unless and until I'll pick up a few and tell you to do individual.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, somebody else had something.
Sir, between BCG and the GE matrix, is there a particular place in which these will fit in apt, or these are just the same representation but just greater details?
Actually, they are almost similar, but then that will be unfair to both of them if I tell you it's similar. This also gives you some direction of thought. This also tells you what to do next. This guy tells you that stay committed, be there, harvest, get rid of this market, don't do there. I'm running a medical college. I'm running a dentistry or whatever it's called. I'm running an engineering college. I'm running a graduation college. My engineering college is got 50% occupation. And you know what is happening to engineering colleges. People are no longer interested in engineering as a science. So people are moving away. So first of all, half the colleges are becoming empty, and my college is also becoming empty. What should I do? Get rid of it. But now somehow there is an interest in proper graduation because new terminologies like B Pharma or B Bio or B Biotech or B Vaccine Management. Though it is only a graduation thing, there is some movement happening here. I'm not very clear, but it's definitely not low. It's definitely high. I think you should hold on to it. But your medical college is super. Everything going on well. They are the top of the end college. People want to give an arm and a leg to join your college. Stay there, man. That's the message. Okay?
Understood, sir. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed today's playlist.
Professor, one question on it's not related to this topic. Related to textbook for marketing management. So when I was going through LMS, it showed the textbook in the syllabus same as HRM looks like. So if you could suggest a right.
I have suggested that book. There's only one book to read, Philip Kotler, Principles of Marketing.
First. Okay, sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Don't read any other book.
Okay.
Philip Kotler. Do you want me to type that?
Philip Kotler, Kotler.
Philip
So,
Kotler. Philip Kotler.
Yeah.
Philip, everybody. Only one book to read. Philip Kotler, Principles of marketing.
The book was uploaded in the WhatsApp group, Professor. I guess someone
And
uploaded last week.
Philip Kotler marketing book edition number 4 or 7 is 800 rupees. Edition number 2 is 250 rupees. Buy edition number 2. Don't buy the more basic, that book you buy, because you are getting into the principles of marketing. What am I doing? I'm using the principles of marketing, giving you a marketing conversation, and also giving you an extra overlay. Philip Kotler's Principles of Marketing may not be talking about GE matrix, may not be talking about VRIO, but it will give you the greatest foundation that you want on marketing. And my classes will give you the icing on the cream, and the what do you call it? The icing on the cake. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, guys. And see you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye. Good day.
Bye, sir.
Good day.
Thank you, Professor.
Bye, sir.